Welcome to On the Rise. I am Evan Murray, and this is awesome. We're here to talk about all the fun facts of Chinese language music.
Hi, Ariel. Nice to meet you here today. And what a sunny, beautiful day in Taipei.
Yes.
And tell me, can you please introduce yourself and tell the audience about you?
Well, hello, Evan, and hello, everybody. I'm Ariel Tsai, Taipeian, and I'm very honored to be here today. And so basically, wow, I haven't done an introduction in English about myself for a very, very long time. So here we go. Let's try it out. So I'm a 27-year-old singer-songwriter based in Taipei, Taiwan. And right now, currently, I'm with Sony Music. And I just released a single, and there's going to be 4 more singles that are coming out each month before the end of December. And mostly my music is mainly mandol pop, and it's more towards the ballad, soft, romantic, meditative style. I also grew up in Vancouver, Canada, and I moved back to Taiwan 4 years ago after my university graduation, and here I am just chasing my dreams and pursuing this music career, even though it has nothing to do with what I studied in college, but I'm still really enjoying what I'm doing right now.
I'm very happy to talk with you, and I'm very thankful to your label and the people around you for letting us have a little conversation here today. Tell me, what is the significance of your birthplace? Like, where were you born, first of all?
I was born in Taipei. So I guess I'm like my family is also born in Taiwan. So we moved to Canada when I was 3 years old. And to me, the significance of my birthplace, I guess, it has always like a special place in my heart, because when we moved to Canada, I still spoke Chinese with my parents at home, because we would go out and go to school and speak English. But when we come back, my parents really wanted me to still have the ability to speak in Mandarin. So for me, my first language is still Mandarin, and that really helped me, because what I'm doing now, it's mandol pop, and eventually I still ended up coming back to Taiwan to pursue a career in Mandarin pop music. So I guess it always has like a special place, like Taipei, even though the most of my time I spent it in Canada. So it's still very nice to be back, basically working here right now in my birthplace. Sometimes I have this identity crisis where I kind of just like question like where I really belong. It's interesting because I speak both languages and I identify with both cultures. And right now I'm just I still miss Canada a lot, but I'm also happy to be in Taiwan. So I guess both places are really, really important and significant to me.
Why don't you have a career in Canada versus having a very successful career in Taiwan? Why do you think that is?
That's a really good question. So I studied pharmacy actually in Canada.
Oh my God. Full of brains. What are you doing in the rock and roll industry?
I know, right? I ask myself every day, just kidding. So yeah, I studied pharmacy, and I was actually gonna take my MCAT exam, so the entrance exam for medicine, during the second year of my college. And I wanted to further pursue a degree in medicine, but I ended up doing music during that summer when I was supposed to prepare for my exam. And I realized how much I love music. Well, I always loved music since growing up, but it was that summer when I started posting content on the internet, and then I started gaining following, and there were more and more opportunities coming up. And that's when I decided maybe I should just finish my pharmacy school and see where music takes me. So basically, I finished my degree and I made sure that I got my license. And then after that, I decided to move back to Taiwan to do this singing career.
You're literally a pop star. And so this is definitely interesting. And I think this is one thing that we as Canadians have to really understand and take a serious look at here is that because we don't have these spaces for people like you who are, you know, singing in the Mandarin language, is that we lose this talent of a very special person like yourself inside of, you know, inside of other countries. And the thing is, like, if we had a space for you for the Mandarin language in Canada, I mean, it's going to benefit Canadians eventually. I mean, the two marketplaces have to be able to cooperate because they're the two most spoken languages on earth, right? I mean, it's and I just think Canada has a lot to benefit from it. And I think also with the entire equity and equality stuff that's going on in Canada is that this is the right time for this to happen. So let's talk about your parents a little bit. Like, so you're like, hey, mom and dad, like, I want to be a rock star. And they're like, no way, you got to go to school, right? Or were they like, oh, yes, dear, you know, go be a rock star, do whatever you want. Like, tell me about that relationship. How did that happen?
Right. So in the beginning, I spent quite a lot of time trying to convince them, I think by action, that I was really, really into music. So I promised them I would still complete my degree so that they didn't have to worry in case music didn't work out. I still have a backup and I can still come back to Canada to finish, well, to do pharmacy. So at least in that sense, they were a little bit like, okay, that's fine. But during the last few years of pharmacy school, I started really being very involved in music online, doing music online and like interacting with my fans and then posting content. And I think that's when they realized how dedicated I was. Like, I remember waking up around 5 or like 6 a.m. in the morning just to do live streams to match the time difference in Taiwan. And I would like sing for 2 hours. And then I would like lie down and take a nap for like 10 minutes and then go out and take the bus to UBC to school and then do my exams.
Like live streaming on YouTube?
Yeah, and YouTube and Facebook. So
okay.
Yeah, I would do that like every 2 days. And it was exhausting because during that time in pharmacy school, I was really stressed also because there's just so much to study and it's a lot of like pressure and stress, but I still wanted to do music. And I think my parents were pretty impressed. They're like, oh, okay, I guess you're not just like joking about that you like music. You actually try to like really put in action.
Yeah,
and
there
really
was
show
some
your dedication.
salt in your words. Like you were really serious about not only your music, but you're also serious about your education. And I think, well, that's a testament too, I think, to your integrity, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of integrity to be able to do something like that. Like it wasn't for fun, like you were serious. And tell me a little bit about this. Like what kind of music were you singing? Were you singing cover songs? Did you write any of your own songs at that point? What were you singing?
So initially I posted my own songs and then people started commenting how they really liked my voice. And I was like, oh, what? I didn't know.
Wait a second.
That.
So you were sharing this like with your friends and you had a lot of friends from Taiwan because you lived here between 9 and 15 years old. You had a community, let's say, of friends, and then you had a little community in like Vancouver as well.
Yeah.
And then you were waking up in the morning in Vancouver to meet the time difference, right?
That was like the last few years of college for me.
Okay.
Yeah. That's when I really started like being serious about posting content on YouTube and also my Facebook at that time. Like,
were your friends sharing it? Like, how did it grow? Do you know? Do you remember how it like? Did YouTube grow first, or did the Facebook grow first? Like, how did that happen? Like, where did you start seeing some significance?
It was mainly Facebook at first. So I think during that time, not a lot of people do live streams on Facebook. It was like a very new thing for everybody at that time. So I started to do live streams pretty frequently on Facebook. And you know how people on Facebook, they share things a lot. And it was like the prime time where everybody was using Facebook. So the shares got crazy sometimes and like more and more people knew about me. And then I started posting covers on my YouTube channel. And I was also lucky because at that time, not a lot of people in Asia post covers or do music on YouTube. I know that in the Western world it's like a very common thing already, but I think in Asia, like this whole music thing was just like starting for Asians. So I was one of like, I would say like the pioneers or like the first ones to really start having like a YouTube career online in terms of like doing music. So I was pretty lucky because nowadays like everybody is doing it and the market is more saturated and it's harder to really stand out.
All right, how about this? How about can you teach me something in Mandarin right now?
Oh yeah. What would you like to learn?
Okay. No. Don't be throwing the questions back at me.
Okay.
Because I'll get perplexed because I do know some Mandarin. I know bits and pieces.
Right.
But let's just pretend I don't know anything.
Yeah.
And what would so you're meeting me, I like arrive in this, in a foreign country and there's like all these people speaking Chinese languages. And I'm like, oh my God, so what do I need? Like if I'm hungry or food. Right. How about let's go with this? Mm-hmm. How do I order a beer?
Oh, wow. That is very important. I love how you specified beer, but very important. Okay, so let me teach you. If you want to order a beer, let's say in a convenience store or in a restaurant, you can ask the person, 请问我可以点一杯啤酒吗?
Oh my God, that's so difficult. Okay, slow down.
let's break it down. Let's break it down. So usually we ask like people in a very polite way. We need to add 请问. So that's like
请问 is like may I?
Yeah, may I? Yeah, kind of. Yeah, may I? 请问. 请问. Yeah. So every time you want to ask politely, you would say 请问. So may I? 请问我可以 is also just like may I, but like
because it's me, right?
Yeah. 我可以
请问 may I and the person like may I the person.
对，我可以 对，我可以点 is order. 请问我可以点
Is it 点 or 点?
点
Okay.
DIAN.
So let's do that this part we have now. We're grounded. We're grounded. So just give me that part. Let's do that.
Yes. 请问我可以点 And then now the most important part. 一杯啤酒 one glass of beer.
eBay, one.
Yeah,
eBay.
Yes,
Can I have an eBay?
Good job. One glass is eBay. One is E. Glass is bay. eBay.
Oh, right. E is one. Bay is glass.
Glass. Yeah. 啤酒 is beer.
And 啤酒. Okay. 啤酒.
Yeah.
啤酒.
You are doing great.
Okay, thank you. That's so nice of you. I will definitely forget that, but I will try to remember.
It's okay. You can always revisit this podcast if you suddenly
want to hear. The good times. It's all about the good times.
It is.
So if you weren't a musician, I know what you'd be doing. You'd be a philosopher.
Yeah, I do think a lot. I meditate.
Well, I actually think you have really deep and articulate thoughts, right? So I mean, you're obviously a thinker because you weren't going into you were really hitting on sociological things, right? So I thought that was really cool, actually.
I really like to think about weird stuff. Sometimes, like my parents would just be like, "Can you stop thinking for a sec? Like, can your brain just shut down?"
What does it mean to you? And we already touched on this a little bit, but what does it mean to you as a person that Canada is now elevating the Chinese languages?
I actually feel very proud. And I feel actually quite touched in a sense because when I was Canada, although like my friends and like my community, we all identify as Asians, but we still felt like our background or like culture or even like music wise, it's not really being recognized that much. So
just tell it like it is, sister. Just give them the goods.
Yeah. So now seeing that, Canada's elevating Chinese, like not just the music, but like in terms of the culture or just the act of like elevating, I think itself is such an encouragement to us. makes us like feel like, oh, we can finally be like more proud of who we are or what we listen to, even though it's different from, I guess, like what everybody else is speaking or what everybody else is listening to. So yeah, I love to see that, just like being acknowledged more.
Well, honestly, like Ariel, it's people like you,
Mm-hmm.
like because you have a platform and because you have like a major following and
Mm-hmm.
because of who you are and how you've, built yourself, is that it's going to
Mm-hmm.
be people like you that are going to be the catalyst,
Mm-hmm.
to facilitate these things.
Yeah.
Because really, like, it is an idea. It's an idea, but that idea has to be propagated by the people
Yeah.
that have the biggest, that have the most strength to push those ideas forward.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so even you spending time with me today to talk about this is a significant role in doing so, right? I mean, it is significant because the thing is, some things people might not know about, but the thing is that we have to start normalizing this idea as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm very honored to be a part of this, and I really appreciate just
You're like a
being
part
here.
of history.
Yeah.
You're a part of history here, man. We're making Canadian history.
We are making history together.
Absolutely. All right. So now, speaking of history,
Right.
how did you get in? Like, did your grandparents have any influence on your love with music? Tell me a bit about your grandparents. Were they like old school? Where were they from? Like, can you just talk about significant things about your grandparents, and then let's segue that into their music taste and how it might have affected you.
Right. Actually, both of I guess like my dad's side, my dad's father and mother passed away a long time ago, so I didn't really get to spend time with them, but
I'm sorry.
it's okay. I think like most of my memories with my grandparents, I think it would be like my mom's side, my mom's mom, and she's a 客家人, so she's like Hakka heritage, and she doesn't really speak she doesn't really speak that much Mandarin. So my memories of like her would be just like a very traditional Hakka woman. She lives like in the mountains.
Salt pork.
Yeah.
Pork belly. I love Hakka food. I love it.
Hakka food is the best. Yeah. And it's interesting because if we talk about music, I actually don't think she listens to music that much, just because she grew up in a very how would I say, like a very poor family, and all she did for life was just basically trying to make money, and music was more of like entertainment. And for her, I don't think she really has the time or like the appreciation for entertainment, because she was just, trying to like survive and like make money so that her family can keep living on. So so like for music, I didn't really have much, I guess, like connection to her in terms of like, Hakka or that, because she just doesn't really listen to music, if I were to be honest. Yeah.
Well, I mean, they must have maybe they played some folk music, like they're like maybe they celebrated sometimes, but I understand what you're saying is that there wasn't a lineage there. Like she wasn't like, oh, my grandma was a piano player and she used to like to dance on the bar and blah blah blah. Like she was it's I feel a little bit solemn actually when you're telling me that, but I mean, she sounds like she lived a hard life.
Yeah. But I would say my parents had a big influence on me musically, though. Like my parents, my dad actually, he writes a lot of songs, and he's a good writer. And growing up, I think he competed in a lot of like songwriting competitions, and he even like won some awards, and he was always passionate about music. So some part of me, like while I was pursuing my career, I felt like when he started supporting me doing music, it was also part of him living the dream that he never got to live when he had the chance.
Living vicariously through his daughter, gaining this success. Well, no, like let's be real. Like the thing is, like as much as like I had to do with the music industry and touring and all these things, I I didn't hit the success marker. And that's where I started looking at the business, and I'm like, oh, I could make a living, and let's do that. And then the thing is like, if my daughter was to become successful, I'm trying to give you some perspective here, because it would be like living a dream.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like your dad probably like absolutely is so proud and so happy and like so invigorated by your success.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it would be amazing. That would be an amazing thing to experience.
I know, because when I decided to come back to Canada, he decided to move back with me, like with like having
hey, you're not going anywhere. My little pearl of the sea.
He wanted to really support me, and I was so thankful, because I felt like a lot of times he also pushed me and also really encouraged me to keep going on.
God,
And
that's so great.
yeah, I was actually really touched just to see how much support he and mom gave me. And I know that's very rare, like, because a lot of my friends, their parents only wanted them to live like a, like a stable, steady life.
Absolutely.
And yeah,
I know that quite well. My parents were like, here's a drum set, don't ever play it.
Yeah, but now my parents are back to Canada, and then they're like, you know what, we miss you a lot. Like, do you ever want to come back? And it's a good life here. And
maybe you should visit them at the end of November and early December, and you could like come to Jade Music Festival. That would be amazing. You could like go visit your parents, hang out with us. It would be so great to have you.
Oh yeah. Is it coming up in November?
Yeah, so it's November 28th to December 3rd. And we have all kinds of different stuff going on. Our schedule is going to be released soon. Anyone listening, you can check out jmfa.ca. Nice. And that's the Jade Music Fest. And 2023 will be a award show. Can you kind of dig a little deep right now? Right. And let's go back into your professional career as a singer. Can you tell me about your albums and tell me about your songs, and let's talk about something significant. Just let's talk about it and let's see what comes up significantly for you. Yeah.
So I've always really enjoyed writing music, and I would say I probably enjoy writing music more than performing. Growing up, I would always like come to the piano, and I would just like sit down and play music, and melodies would come up, and I find out that I really like writing music when I was the age of 14. Like I completed my first song then, and I just never stopped ever since. So I think like being a singer, I also really wanted to be like a songwriter, not just like singing other people's songs, but really being able to use my stories or use my music to maybe like convey a message that I want to tell people, or like also tell people my story. So if the audience like listened to my music, they would find that a lot of times like I want to be soft with my music, but I also want to like tell people what I stand for. For example, I think last year it was like the most like serious, I guess, pandemic, I guess like event or like time period that Taiwan had. I think it was like 2021 May. There was basically like a lockdown, and our industry was like completely almost shut down, because like that meant like all the performances were canceled, and everybody was like very anxious and almost depressed, because it's like we don't know when like our performances will come back, and that's such a big source of income for us, and it's like basically we're jobless. So I decided to release a song around that time. It's called Take It Slow.
Okay.
Because everything was like slowed down. The Chinese name is called 急不来的让它慢吧. And I feel like nowadays music, they're really nice to listen. There's lots of like good hooks, good sounds. But like I kept mentioning, I really value the meaning of the song and the message of the song. So I really wanted to use music to give people some kind of comfort around that time, because I know everybody was just like super nervous about the pandemic. And I tried to like tell people through the music that, hey, it's okay to slow down. And I was also trying to like remind myself, like every time I sing it or every time I listen to that song, it's almost like a reminder to myself that, hey, you want to take things slow and it's okay. Like things will always be okay at the end. Just like chill.
It's all good.
Yeah,
It's all
good.
good.
It's all good.
This is a
Yeah.
question I heard once asked to a famous Canadian artist, and
Yeah.
I want to ask you this because you being a singer-songwriter,
Mm-hmm.
do you paint pictures or do you take photographs?
Ooh, whoa. That's a deep question.
Hell yeah.
Wow. That's probably my favorite question of the day. Do I paint pictures or do I take photographs? Wow. I think I used to take photographs and now I'm trying to paint more of a picture.
You're trying to illustrate an
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that a bit.
Um,
Is there any songs that you have that where you really put your intention there to do that?
I think because like taking photograph, that's more of like documenting, right? Documenting what you see and recording, like for example, your memories or it's more like accepting what it is, but painting a picture is more of like creating, right? Is that the difference? Is that what the question is more about?
It's your fantasy.
My takeaway, yeah. So I think before, for me, music was more like an outlet. Like whenever I feel down, I would play the piano and then record my thoughts because I'm more suppressed. Like I usually don't really express much of what I feel unless it's through music where I feel safe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
outlet.
Yeah, it's like a musical
Therapy.
diary. Yeah, it's like therapy. It's very therapeutic. So I think that's why I felt like it was more of taking a photograph. Whereas now I have more control over my emotions or I can manage my emotions better. So I can also use this music to create what I want to say instead of always just documenting how I felt at that time.
Right.
So, yeah, so sometimes like people think, oh, an inspiration is only spontaneous, like you can only like capture it when it comes. But I do feel that it can also be intentionally created. For example, if today I see something that happens or I have this like crazy thought that I felt like, oh, maybe I can like elaborate a little bit more. And it's even though it's like not my own story, I can still create it or convey it through my music. So I'm still working on that because I think it takes a little bit of like more skill for me because it doesn't.
No, but I mean, this is kind of getting into, like the idea of, let's say, even forming habits, right?
Yeah,
like this is about you're creating a chronological order about how you're going about something. It's becoming a little bit of a system because you want to have the result, let's say, right? Like you're going in, so whereas like a picture would be like, okay, here it is, that's what it is, and that's where it will be. And now you're talking about painting pictures where I think this is a process. So what are some of the processes that you go through? Like, do you have any type of rituals at all?
So usually if I know that I want to write a song today, like I have the intention of writing something, then I would really just like be alone. I think being alone really allows me to have like free flowing inspiration and thoughts. And like I have to be alone unless it's like a very intentional co-write. Sometimes like it's really nice to be able to write with someone else because you can have like ideas bouncing back and forth and there's like different chemistry. So that's also a different, I guess that's a different story. If I know that I want something different, like out of my original comfort zone, a different genre that I want to try, then I would hit up like friends or like songwriters that I know that, you know, they are willing to work with me. And that would be a nice like process of, you know, painting a different picture that I usually am not that acquainted with.
So would you say that, so there's a part of like, there's a cerebral aspect to your writing where like you're trying to be intentional,
Yeah.
but it also sounds like it's also coming out of your heart as well.
Yeah, yeah, it
Right?
is. It is. I think there's a delicate balance to like really following that spontaneous like like I want to write a song now, and also okay, like I need to write the song and not see it as like an obligation work, because sometimes like forced music, since it's art, it won't be as genuine as just like a oh I feel like expressing whatever through my songs. I think the audience can still feel it sometimes, so I still try to make my artwork as genuine as possible, even though it could be intentional sometimes and not just like a very spontaneous thing.
Thank you, Ariel, very much, and thank you to your label, and thank you
Yeah.
to your dad,
Yeah.
and your mom and dad, and thank them for having a wonderful baby and raising her to be a wonderful person. So thank you,
Yeah.
thank you
Thank
very
you
much,
for
Ariel.
inviting me. I had such a great time, and I really do miss Vancouver. And I have to say, I was very, very honored when I received the invitation just to be on this podcast. And so thank you for inviting me. It's such a pleasure and honor.
Thank you. Goodbye, everybody.
Okay, goodbye, everybody.